Are you actually from a Italian background, or where do you come from eventually, or
Okay, so yeah,
originally?
I'm 100% Italian, and from my grandfathers or my family, and yeah, we are from Rome. All of my family is from Rome, and yeah, it's 4 years I'm living in South Africa. So I know a lot of Italians that they moved in South Africa, and they tell me, ah, me too, I'm Italian. So I start to speak Italian with them, and then they say, no, sorry, I don't speak Italian. So I say, how is possible? You are Italian, you don't speak Italian? So they tell me, yes, because my grandfather came here from Italy, and then my parents were born here. I was born here, so yes, I'm Italian. But instead, me, I'm 100% Italian. I was born there. I lived there all my life, and it's just 4 years I'm living here in South Africa.
But how did you end up here in South Africa?
So it's a nice question that you ask me. A lot of people they always ask me. So I was nominated for an Italian movie for a film festival in Amsterdam, and my nomination was best European movie. And so I went to this festival. I had an injury in my eye, so I was not convinced to go to this festival because it was 3 weeks before I had this. I had a big operation, and so I was maybe I'm going, maybe not. Then I told to myself at the last moment, okay, let me go. So I went there, and I met an actress that she was nominated as best African actress in the same festival. So I met her, we chat a little bit, we stayed in contact, and then I decided after 1 month we were in contact to come in South Africa and to visit South Africa and to visit her. And from that moment, I got in a relationship with her, and let's say I never left.
Okay, and then you obviously enjoy it here. It's kind of would you say it's better here in South Africa than in Italy? It obviously has its pros and its cons, but from the past 4 years, how did you experience it? How did you find it? And what kind of differences did you find between the two countries?
Okay, so it's totally different from Italy. It's the
Mm.
opposite side of the world, so of course there are a lot of things that changed in my life, from the culture, from the people, from the food. So at the beginning, I have to understand how to live, let's say, no, because it's totally different. And I have to be honest with you, I liked so much South Africa. I like the people. I like living here. How you people live, like you are much more relaxed than Italians. You take things in an easier way, but easier way sometimes it can seem like not a nice thing because like you guys are easy, but not easy in that sense. Like you are more relaxed to take the journey, let's say, and instead us Italians are always crazy everywhere. And so I think how you live your days in life, it's really something that Italians have to learn. And then the rest, like I like honestly everything about South Africa. Of course, everywhere in all the countries in the world, there are problems. So here, even here in South Africa, I'm not saying it's the best country in the world with no problems. Of course, even here in South Africa there are problems, but yeah, I am really enjoying. I'm really enjoying South Africa, and I didn't expect, honestly, I would enjoy so much from the first moment I came. I When I came here, I didn't expect nothing. Honestly, I was coming
Uh,
only to visit my girlfriend that she's now, and yeah, it's beautiful. Honestly, beautiful place.
okay, then how was the transition from Italy to South Africa? How did you take that? How did you handle that?
So it's a nice question you ask me. The first period it was tough because like I had to reschedule all of my life, and even for the visa was a problem because I could come here for 3 months as a tourist, but then I had to go away. and then I could do like plus 3 months, still like a tourist, but after 6 months I had to go away, and even going like to do these visa things for renewing. It's a lot of work. They are not 100% like organized, so I had to go there more than one time. So for 2 years I did this, and it was a big problem. And then luckily I got my visa, and so now I'm much more relaxed. So the first period was a little bit tough because, how I was saying you before, I had to reschedule all of my entire life, and but slowly with time, with the help of my girlfriend, that is a big help because she's South African. So she told me how to let's move around, things to do, things to don't do, and help me like for the visa, help me in a lot of ways. So honestly, she helped me a lot. If I was only by myself, it would have been much more tough. Instead, with the help of her, like things went gradually. And I think the best thing every time that we should do in any kind of things, that we should move gradually and grow up gradually. So is what I did, and slowly I enter in another kind of life perfectly, let's say.
And how did you get involved in the film industry?
Okay, so before I was a soccer player when I was in Italy, and I played really well. I From when I was 16, I left my home family to go and play in a place in the north part of Italy, because I live in the center, so in the north part, and it was a professional team. So I was a really good soccer player, sorry. Then, at the age of around 20, 21, I had to stop because I had so many injuries, and it was not anymore a pleasure for me to play soccer. So it was a big decision of my life, because from when I was a child, but then growing up, my career was always growing for a better future in soccer. And then so many injuries, like my muscle would break so many times during a season. So probably I was okay 2 3 months in a season was 9 months, the rest I was not okay. So I tried, but everything this thing would happen. And when you arrive at a level, you always have to be 100%, because if you are not 100%, you can like have the results, and you can't reach anymore that kind of level, no? So I thought about it, and I decided to stop. It was a big and tough moment in my life, and my family, they all work in the film industry. So from my grandfather, from my mother, from my aunt, from my father, so really everyone. So I told them I would like to start an acting academy. So they were a little bit, are you sure? It's totally another thing. So I say, I'm trying. I tried 1 year, and they told me I had talent the first year. They helped me a lot to to enter. Like the academy told me I had talent, so the academy helped me a lot the first year, and from there I continued to study for I think 4 years. While I was studying, I started to work, and yeah, my first work was a theater work. It was my first audition I ever did in my life for a theater job, and I got it immediately. Usually, it's not like this. Actors know that you do plenty of audition, and then after I learned about it. But that was my first one, and it helped me even to have a lot of confidence, because I say, okay, I did one, so like I felt like I can do this thing. And yeah, from there I started with theater, then television, movies, and yeah, going long for now. I think it's almost 10 years. Yeah.
Okay, and then what did you say? Do you think theater is better than doing the films or doing the movies, or what did you say is better for you, or do you enjoy the most?
So, theater is totally opposite from TV and movies. Honestly, I like more from one part of the job theater and from the other part of the job movies and television. Theater, you know what theater gives you more than television and movies? Like when you go, first of all, is live, so you can't make mistakes. If you do a mistake, in 1 second you have to understand how to solve that problem without the audience understand that you did a mistake. And with theater a lot of times it happens because it's 2 hours of show, and it can happen one small mistake. If you do a small mistake, then the other guy have to catch and have to turn things that, and no one has to understand. And the emotion, like you have such a big emotion when like you finish or when you are in front of the public, and and it's something you have to feel to understand.
Mm.
And it's really maybe the biggest difference is exactly this. Instead, if in movies, cinema, television, you do a mistake, okay, cut. You start again with the second roll. Then you do another mistake, okay, cut, third roll. Like it's always better to don't do them, but if you make them, it's not a disaster. In the theater, if you do a mistake and you don't know how to move on, it's a disaster because like you can't cut. You understand? You have to go on. So this is the
Mm.
the, the most different things of theater and the cinema. But how I told you, I enjoy like a lot one like theater for one reason, cinema and television for another. Even because like when you go on television, like you see yourself, and let's not lie, it's beautiful, no? Like all the actors like it. So yeah.
Mm. And is there any kind of productions that you'd like to work on? Is there anything that you would aspire to, of anybody that you aspire to work with? Do you have goals or dreams or stuff like that as well?
So honestly, allora, I am a really big fan of sport from all my life,
Mm.
no? So when I came here in South Africa, I really didn't know a lot of this industry. Like my girlfriend, she works there, so she helped me a little bit to know, but I didn't know a lot.
Mm.
So when I came here, like I after 2 years, I could start to the audition when I got my work visa. And honestly, what I really liked to do was a job that it could be a TV project for a commercial or for a cinema, any kind of work
Mm.
with a Springbok player. That was
Mm.
like something I liked from the first moment because
Yeah,
the
you've
first
worked
day I came,
with Faf.
yeah, I worked with
Yeah.
Papa, and so yeah. To finish this, so your question, that was like what I really liked to do here in South Africa. You know, as a first work, and I was lucky to do it with Pap de Klerk. And imagine how things work in life. No, my first day in South Africa was 2019 when Springbok won the third World Cup. I was on the plane and people were celebrating on the plane. The captain announced, "Congratulations, guys! You are world champion." And I was 2 hours away to land in Johannesburg, and that was my first time ever in South Africa. And then my my dream, no, here in South Africa was to have the honor to work with a Springbok player as an actor, and luckily I had this dream realized with Pap de Klerk. Yeah, and so
Mm.
yeah, it was really beautiful.
Okay, and then you've now mentioned that you had your dream realized, your dream is fulfilled. What's the next step? What's the following thing for you? What's the kind of the next dream or the next goal that you have?
Okay, so my next project, honestly, like it's everyone would like to say, work on a big movie and this kind of things. I don't like to speak in this way because it's something that everyone likes to do, no? So I prefer always to say like I like to move gradually. So my next step is trying to work and make more experience I can here in South Africa, because for me it's still a new thing, because I got my visa, I told you, 2 years ago, but then I traveled a lot back in Italy. So let's say I started to work here as an actor less than 1 year, if I take even away the months that I'm going back to Italy. So like my next project for the future, is only to improve, to work and know more people in this film and TV industry of South Africa, and move slowly. Of course, if something big happen, I'm happy. If a smaller role would come, I'm still happy, because like how I told you, it's kind of I'm starting all over again, no? Because it's totally another world. So yeah,
Mhm.
that are my next project. Working
And
still, and moving on how I'm doing with auditions. Uh, Hopefully, I'm changing now my agency, so I'm getting a new agency for next year. So with the new agency, I can have even more possibilities, and yeah, this is what are my projects.
mm, okay,
Oh,
then.
sorry, of the film industry. Then I have in my
Mhm.
life other projects, like I just opened my own business as a makeup brand. So this is another thing that still like I'm projecting, I am moving, and yeah. But speaking about film, this is what are my goals, let's say.
And how important do you think that is to continue to move, to continue to move forward, to continue to build something? As you mentioned, you have your film career now. You've opened a new business, so there's continue. You are working, you are growing. How important do you think that is for success, especially in this industry?
For me, it's the first thing, but not only in this industry. For me, in life, like sometimes a flat life would be much more comfortable, because you have much more things like that, that are coming every time, every month. Instead, in this way, it's a little bit more complicated, but I think you grow up much more, because you always have to figure out something new to do, something, what is my next step, and this helps so much for your growth. And I think it's from one side it's a little bit scary, but from another side it's beautiful, because only in this way you really can grow, like thinking what are my next steps. Okay, you should never be happy of what you're doing. You should be happy of what you're doing, but then you always have to think, okay, I did it, okay, what is my next step, because this is the only way to grow. Otherwise, if you are happy and then you're stuck there, like you are blocked. So yeah, but how I told you, this I think is something people should do in life. Always have next step, next projects, next dreams. Always for until like when you get old. But even when you get old, you always have to have some projects in your life, because otherwise, if your life gets flat, is the moment that like, what are you living for? You understand what I mean?
And then when you left Italy for South Africa, how hard was it to leave your people behind, leave the culture, leave your life behind, leave your life behind there and start a new one here in South Africa? Was it hard? Was it something that you were accustomed with? What would you say?
That is something I will never get used, and it will always be tough. So all the time, I I leave my family, my friends, the place where I live. For the first maybe 10 days, I suffer, no, and that will always be like this. But but is a part of growing, even that, no. And I don't think I will never get used on that. But I know how to handle now. luckily from the first moment I knew how to handle, because from when I'm 16 I'm always around. When I was 16, how I told you, I left my hometown for 1 year, and so yeah, I know how to get used. But even if you know how to manage, how to get used, inside you will always suffer that moment, no, of like saying bye to the people that you grow, where you grow, your family. But but the end. At the end it's okay, because then you I know how to handle things, and yeah, but it's always difficult.
Mm. And you've also mentioned previously that you've encountered a lot of injuries. You've encountered a lot of muscles that were torn, that kind of things. How do you keep that maintained currently? Because you're currently fit. You have to be active. How do you maintain that? And I would say kind of condition yourself not to get injured now.
Okay, so my injuries were because it was really simple, and like it was always the same injuries. So when I would run 100% like a sprint, I would get my injuries. So I'm still doing sport, because I go 6 times a week in the gym. I still can run. 2 weeks ago, I did the Soweto Marathon for my first time. Half marathon I did. It was 21 kilometers. In my life, I only ran maximum for 10 kilometers. But then I was with a friend of mine. I said, okay, let me try. So I did 21 kilometers running, never stop, and I was dead. But I never had injuries. So my injuries come only when I sprint. When you play soccer, sprint is the first thing, no? Because you always have to sprint to get the ball first than the other player. If you have to score, you have to sprint to score. It's a lot sprint in soccer, and so that is the only case I get the injury. So in all the other things I do, I don't get injuries luckily. So
Mm.
yeah, I can run 21 kilometers without problems, and without problems. I had some problems because it was tough, but no injuries. Yeah.
Okay. And how important is it to stay physically active, to stay physically fit and healthy in the film industry?
How much is important? You are asking me.
Mm.
Okay.
Is it important, or do you think a lot of people can just leave it and just let it be?
I think it's important for the film industry, because if you never know what kind of role it will come like in the future. So it can come a role that you are like a manager, so you are in the office with your family. I don't know, now making an example, or maybe you can have a role that you have to be like in a good shape. You have to run, you have to climb, you have to fall, no? So being fit and being trained helps you, that when you have that occasion is right to say, that
Yeah, I think there
opportunity,
was the
maybe is,
opportunity.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
better to say that opportunity, you can get it immediately, because then you know uh, we as an actor, we don't work all the year. So when the opportunity come, you have to be like quick and try to get it immediately.
Okay. And then obviously a question that I have to ask you is because of your Italian, I would say your Italian background, do you ever plan on doing some kind of, always in the movies, a lot of times the bad guys are either Italian or Russian.
Okay.
You know that kind of stigma around that. Would you ever go into, I would say, that kind of films in order to, I would say, be the bad guy, be the like the antagonist? What do you say about that?
Honestly, for me, that are the best roles. I always like to be the bad guy, no? And but I like to be the bad guy on like on movies, on like when I act, because it gives me a lot of space to create my own acting role, let's say, no? So like if I have to be an Italian bad guy, I can like study how to create that kind of character, and I can move like in a lot of different ways. You can do strange things, and you can have much more invention on creating your own character for that role, for a bad guy. For a good guy, even that you can create your own good guy character, but then there is always a limit. More than that you can't do. Instead, bad
You
guy.
always have to fit like in a box if you want to be the protagonist. You have to be fit in a box. This is the lines that you have to do. This is the kind of structure that you have to attain. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Of course, even if you are a bad guy, that they are the lines, there are the instruction, but still you can be a little bit more crazy, So when you can be a little bit more crazy, you can create much more of your character. A nice guy, like more than that, you can't create because that is, and you have to be that kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Okay. And is there any kind of role that you would like to fulfill one day, or any kind of movie that you definitely want to be in? Is there any kind of thing like that?
Yeah, I would like, honestly, how I told you before, I love sport, like to be, like to do a film of a big sport legend, big sport star. Uh, if it's South African or Italian, like that is what I would love to do. And yeah, I'm always, how I told you from the beginning of this interview, I'm always in the sport business, like from when I was small until now. Like now, I'm still training every day, and 90% of my things outside from the work is sport, sport, sport. So yeah, I would absolutely enjoy something, a role that I could be a legend of the sport, or even like a star, it would be good. Nice.
And does it consume a lot of time to be in this industry? As you said, 90% of the time you're busy with doing other sports, and 10% of the time you're doing work. Do I understand that correctly, or how long would you say is it consuming a lot of your time? Is it a full-time job? What would you say?
So when I was saying, like, when I am outside of my work, I like 90% of like sport, and then maybe 10% I do other stuff. But I was not speaking about all my life. Like, honestly, it takes me away some of the time during the year, but not too much, because if there isn't an audition you have to do, or if there is not a work, like there are some period of my life that maybe I'm only waiting, and that's why even I just open my new business, because I don't like to stay home to wait for a call, or for an audition. So with my new business, I still can wait for a call, because doesn't take me nothing away from my work of an actor. But instead of waiting only a call, I am moving to let grow the other business. Then when the call arrives, I'm ready, and I'm ready for audition, and yeah. So I always try to get organized in my life, because if you sit down without doing nothing, it's never nice.
How do you typically prepare for an audition?
Okay, depends on the audition. Usually here in South Africa, in this moment, I am doing a lot of audition for commercials, because of course, uh, especially in Johannesburg, the business is a lot for black people, no, and the language is different. So there is Zulu that I can't speak, or if there is some work for white people, there is Afrikaans that I can speak. So for European, there aren't so much jobs. So like, of course there are, but not so many, like an actor that is African or Zulu here in South Africa. So with my agency, I'm working more as in auditions for commercial because is like where I can work. How I can work more now in Johannesburg, because in Cape Town I never worked, but they told me it's a little bit different. There are much more European in this industry. Instead, in Johannesburg is like really 90% black people and like some Africans. So for audition, honestly, I prepare, but not too much. There is a small brief that you have to learn. Then depends on what kind of brief, and maybe I can take 2 hours to understand, memorize the line, understand what are the movements, and maybe the day before, because usually I get the audition always for the next day. So when I get the audition, I immediately start 2 hours. Then the day before the morning before the audition, I study a little bit more, understand again the movements, if I can remember the lines, try to enter much more in the character, because that is the first thing when you do an audition and when you are inside a role. You don't have to think as Federico, but you have to think as that kind of actor, of that kind of character. Sorry. And so for audition, it doesn't take so much. Of course, for an audition or to prepare a movie, it takes much more. Last year, I think I did a short movie as a director and as an actor with Nuno, my girlfriend, and that was a big preparation. Like you have to organize and understand how you where to shoot, like the location. You have to understand which actor you want, because you I was even the director, and so depends on what kind of thing you're doing. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes it takes like maybe 2 months, so you see the difference. Maybe for an audition of commercial, I can take 2 hours to get ready, 2 3 hours, and be ready for the audition. For a short film, for a movie, for a TV series, maybe you can even take a couple of months. I'm not joking.
Okay. Are you kind of superstitious? Do you have any kind of rituals or routines that you have to do, like before you go for an audition or before you go um, into the recording phase, or when you go to the, I would say, onto the stage? Are you superstitious in any way?
So when I was younger, I had so many, but then I understood that it's bullshit, so I stopped. Uh, like it
Okay.
doesn't work. It's something mentally. Like it makes you
Mm.
feel better, and it makes you feel like, if I'm doing this, maybe I have a better opportunity. And instead, growing up, I understood that nothing changed. You can do that kind of thing, and you can get the role, but you can do the same thing and don't get the role. So yeah, when I understood this, and it's something mentally, you have to understand before with your head, because otherwise, if maybe you don't do that, you go to do the audition and you are negative inside, because you say like, fuck, I didn't do that, and maybe now I'm not getting the role. And is everything in your mind, like you are deciding everything. You are deciding your negativity, you are deciding your positivity. So when I understood this, I understood these things. It's
I,
nothing.
I think this the episode is kind of on a good note now, so I want to stop the recording.